2 quick minutes on civil rights from the back porch. The Trump administration is currently engaged in the deportations of hundreds, and they want thousands, if not tens of thousands, of people who are in this country and are undocumented, and they don't seem to care very much if they sweep up a whole bunch of people who are documented in that process. The Trump administration is attempting to steer this through the courts by saying these men have received due process, and the media is starting to pick up on that thread. But it misses something, and the media is missing something that's crucially important. In the United States, there are 2 concepts of due process. The first is procedural due process. The second is substantive due process. Procedural due process is something that we share with dictatorships around the world. It simply means that the government creates a set of laws, and then it must follow those laws as it adjudicates cases against individuals. So, a government under procedural due process could pass a law that says you can only marry people within your race. If you marry someone outside of your race, you can be arrested, you can be sent in front of a judge, they can look at the evidence of the case, they can say, yes, you did that, and they can send you to jail. In the United States, and in most democracies, this concept of substantive due process developed in the 20th century because that's obviously a bad thing if you're just following procedural due process. And substantive due process is crucial to the rights of American citizens. It is an essential part of Roe versus Wade, which you know, an essential part of Loving versus Virginia, which allows people to marry whoever they want regardless of race, or Obergefell versus Texas, which allows people to have same-sex marriages, or Lawrence versus Texas, which allows people to have a reasonable presumption of privacy in their own bedroom. All of those cases are substantive due process cases, and the Trump administration is trying to say that they don't owe substantive due process rights to people who aren't citizens. They do, according to a case called Yickwo versus Hopkins, 1880-something, look it up. But that's what they're attempting to do, and the media is not covering that well. You should know it. The men who were arrested and deported did receive procedural due process. They were arrested by police, they saw a judge, they were kicked out of the country, but they didn't receive substantive due process. The arrests were oftentimes specious with no probable cause. They were not allowed to have individual hearings with the judge. They were taken en masse, and they weren't given proper notification of what the charges were against them. They were given a sheet of paper that was in English, and many of them didn't speak English. So Trump administration is trying to strip this substantive due process rights away from these individuals, and if they do it to people who are undocumented, they're going to do it to you next. Love to you all, unless you're a fascist, in which case I hope you end up in a Salvadoran prison after substantive due process is applied. Talk soon.